I need to do? I have a 7 by 9 shape, and I got to figure out the area. What am I going to do? Mitchell?
Multiply.
Multiply what?
The length and
Why?
because you have to multiply the 7 times the 9 because they're square units. They use rows and columns.
Yes. So if we put on our rows and columns glasses and we look at that shape, we know that there are invisible squares in there. We're not going to draw them because we know a shortcut to figuring out an array. Could we count them?
Yes.
Yes.
But it would take forever.
It would take a very long time. So what's our shortcut for solving an array? Mitchell just kind of gave us a sneak answer. Eva?
We could break it up into mini areas.
Yeah, we could break up into mini areas, and a lot of you did this with your numbers, but if I broke it into mini areas, you want to break apart the 9 or the 7? Raise your hand if you want to break apart the 7. Raise your hand for breaking apart the 7. Raise your hand for breaking apart the 9. Oh, we've got half and half. That's totally fine. Are you wrong if you break up the 9?
No.
Are you wrong if you break up the 7?
No.
No, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
I like to break up 7s because I can break up 7s into what?
5 and 2.
2s, 5s, and 10s are my favorite, so I'm no longer going to have 7, but I'm going to have a 5 and a 2. What's going to be my equation for my top area? Don't look at my bottom area, just look at my top area. What is that equation going to be, James?
5 times 9
5
equals
times 9.
49. Wait, 45.
There you go. 45 what?
Square units.
Beautiful. We know it's square because we have little mini squares in there. Square units. 5 times 9 is 45. If you did not break up the 7, that's totally fine. Completely fine. Alright, now let's go down to the 2 section. We have 2 times what? Put it in your book bag. Let's actually put it in your mailbox. Put it in your mailbox. Join us for math. Guys, stay focused with me. 2 with my other dimension. What's going to be my equation? What's going to be my equation for my lower one, Peter?
2 times 9.
Good. Is... We're here. Peter's figuring out 2 times 9.
One.
Oh. What strategy are you using, Peter? Okay. Go.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18.
Is that 9? So 2 times 9 is 18. 18 what, Peter? Very good. Now what do I do to figure out my area? Because I've made 2 mini areas, but I still don't have a whole big area. What do I need to figure out the whole big area? What should I do, Bryce?
45 plus 18.
Yeah, I add up my mini areas. Do I start with the 10s or the 1s?
1.
1. So I have 5 plus 8. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I'm adding 13. I have 3 1s, 1 10, 13. 4 10s, 5 10s, 6 10s. Let's get a number. 63. 63. What? Square units. Square units. Raise your hand if you got the same answer, but you did it a different way. Raise your hand if you did it a different way, but you got the same answer. Maybe you broke apart the 9. Maybe you just knew 7 times 9. That's good too. Cool. worry about this shape down here yet. How do I figure out a missing side length? So let's imagine I have my same shape that we just did. I had a 9 and a 7, right? But I didn't have my bottom side, I didn't have my right side. How do I figure out a missing length? This was the same shape we just had, a 9 and a 7. But I have some missing sides. I don't know what the bottom one is, and I don't know what the right one is. How do I figure it out? How do I figure out those missing sides? Okay?
So,
I'm not looking at the bottom, I'm looking at the top shape that we just did. A 9 by 7. I'm missing my bottom side, and I'm missing this side. I don't have any numbers over there. How do I figure those out? If I look at the 9, okay, I'm looking at the 9, which means you should be looking at the 9.
the length is the same like at the bottom.
Yeah, the length for the 9, let me get something we can see. The length for 9, this length right here, is the exact same length as this. And if that top line is 9, then the bottom line must be 9. Okay, that was pretty easy. What about the right side? How am I going to figure that out? How am I going to figure that out? James, what you thinking?
I look at the 7,
Uh-huh.
and if that side's 7, then the other side must be 7.
Why?
It has the same length.
Very good. This side and this side, because we know it's a rectangle, that's the rule. They have to be the same length. Opposite sides are the same length. And this also has to be a 7. Are we good with figuring out
Yes.
those missing sides?
Yeah.
Give me a thumbs up if you feel like this is easy peasy for a rectangle. Kind of tricky. This one, I don't know what you were doing. Alright, so let's think about this question then. How do I figure out a missing side of, or a missing side length of an irregular shape? I want you to write that question down, the second one, starting here. Because we're going to answer that question in just a minute. So write down this question. How do I figure out a missing side length of an irregular shape? That means a shape that's not a rectangle. The rectangles were pretty easy. We figured those out quickly. But what if we had a shape like this one down here? That's a little bit trickier to figure out missing side lengths. So we're going to learn how to do that today. Side that I'm looking for this side right here. Do I have anything that is exactly that length? No.
Not really.
Normally in a rectangle would be the opposite side, but if I look at my opposite side, it's way bigger.
Yeah.
So I don't really have anything good that can help me. So what I would use is the parallel line. What's a parallel line? Show me with your arms some parallel lines. You should definitely know some parallel lines. Remember, parallel lines are those lines that keep going forever and they don't touch. They can go vertical, up and down. They can go horizontal, side to side. They can go diagonal, as long as they never, ever, ever, ever touch. So I'm going to look for a parallel line to my blue line. Which line is parallel to my blue line? Which line? Tell me with the number. Which line is parallel? That means if it kept going for forever, it would never, ever, ever, ever touch. Peter? Which one? The one going across? So if I kept going this way, and then I kept going this way, they would never, ever touch? No, they smack into each other. Which line is parallel to my question mark? Okay? The 7 is parallel. Do we see how those two lines would never ever touch?
Yes.
There's here. See if you can find it. There's another parallel line in there. Right? Which one?
Not the top one, but the side.
Going up and down?
Yes.
Yes, that is another parallel line. With your pencil, draw little eyes like these next to your parallel line. Looks like this. Next to your parallel lines. Parallel lines are the trick to solving these problems. So if you can find your parallel line, it'll make these tricky problems much easier. Alright, since I know that I have a parallel line of 7, I'm going to draw that exact same line, but I'm going to draw it a little bit closer to the question mark, because I need to figure out the question mark. So I'm going to do that exact same line, but I'm going to draw it over here. I know it's the exact same because it's the exact same length. I want you guys to do that as well. I'm going to label it 7. I know it's 7 because it's the exact same line as this one. I just made a new parallel line here. Okay. Thumbs up if you know where I'm going. We good so far? Yeah. Okay. Now we're going to use our other parallel line to help us out. Okay? Remember, our middle parallel line is this 4. I know that from this section to this section, the length is 4, which also tells me the length from here to here is 4. We see that? It's almost like I took this chunk and scooted it all the way over.
Hey,
So this is 4.
then if you minus 2 of that, that could be like 3.
Okay? Now, Bryce, you started saying something. We know that this chunk is 4, and I know that the whole thing is 7. How can I use that to figure out this bottom chunk? The whole big line is 7. This chunk is 4. But this it's like part whole almost. What is it going to be? Lee, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking that on the bottom of it's 3 for the question mark, because 4 plus 3 equals 7.
Spot on, Lee. Spot on. This little chunk is going to be worth 3 because we know that 4 plus 3 has to give us the same length of 7. Yes.
I did it differently. I actually split the shape into the top rectangle and the bottom rectangle, and I minus 4 from 7, and I got 3.
As long as you can understand where the numbers are coming from, that's fine. Okay, but it's going to be a little trickier the more complicated our shapes get. Okay? We good? We're going to try a couple more practice problems. Okay? Let's draw the L shape first. Let's draw the L shape first. Yep.
That's bad.
It's another L shape. Make sure it gets labeled correctly. Let's do about a yellow. Like a neon.
Oh, yeah.
Alright, there's my question mark line. I've darkened it just like you have darkened it. Now we need to find the parallel line. Now we need to find, look at where that line is. We need to find the parallel lines. It's going horizontal. My line is going horizontal. What's going to be parallel to my question mark? It's going across this way. Harley, what's one side that's parallel?
The horizontal.
the horizontal 11. This side is parallel. Go ahead and make sure that side is dark. There's another one that's parallel. Melissa?
The horizontal one.
The horizontal one. Very good. So I've got all my parallel lines darkened so that I can very easily see them. That's all that's parallel, sweetheart. Nothing else is parallel.
What about the 11 and 2?
Are those parallel to my question mark line? Or are they going to touch it?
They're gonna touch it.
They would touch it if it kept going for forever. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the biggest side that I have, which is my 11, and I'm going to draw it closer to my question mark just so I can see it a little bit easier. So I'm going to draw it up here. I'm making, oh, that's a crazy line. I'm making sure it's the exact same length so that I can easily say that it's worth 11. So my blue line is worth 11 because it's the exact same length as my bottom 11. Now conveniently, I know some chunks in that line. Raise your hand if you can find a chunk that I already know. You move those lines up. Which section do you already know? We already know one section. Peter, what section do we know?
There's 2, 11.
No, we're looking at, this is my line right here that I'm trying to figure out. And I'm trying to use my other parallel lines to figure out what section I know. What section do I know? What one parallel line do I already know? If I move my lines up, what parallel line do I already know? 4? Yeah, I know that this little section right here is worth 1. If that little chunk is worth 1, and then I need to figure out what this chunk is going to be. Remember, that's been the same length as this one, so it's question mark. So what's it going to be? The whole thing is 11. One chunk is 1.
10.
What's the rest of it going to be, Tatum? 10. So what's my question mark actually?
10.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Another question?
Yes. Is this going to be for our homework?
Yes.
Similar.
Well, not this exact problem, but this kind of
Similar. Alright, let's look at a little bit trickier of a thing. I want you to draw it, and then I want you to draw it, and then look for the parallel lines. I cannot say that enough. And you said, kind of looks like a table. You should be drawing this table shape.
I already did.
In your notebook, making sure that it's labeled. Then you need to darken your parallel lines. Your shape, the very first thing you need to do is find your question mark line. That's first. Once you highlight your question mark line, then you're looking for parallel lines. So you need lines that are parallel to that question mark side. Let's talk about parallel lines. Which ones are parallel? Remember, our question mark line is going horizontal, so we need lines that are parallel. Lene, what's one line that's parallel? The 16 is parallel. 100%. Is there anything else that, no, I've already put that. Is there anything else parallel? Anything else that's parallel? Peter?
The 7s?
Are the 7s going to touch?
No.
Are they going to touch my green line? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Parallel lines are going this way. I need something else that's also going this way. Marley?
The 2 4s.
The 2 4s down at the bottom. Somebody raise your hand. Now that I've got my parallel lines darkened, what's going to be my next step? What's going to be my next step? I found all my parallel lines. Now what do I do? Now what do I do? 2 people? Well, 3, 4 people? What's my next step? Savannah, what do I do now?
Now you take the biggest parallel line, which is the 16,
Beautiful.
and you draw it a little closer to the question mark.
Yeah.
Make sure that it's the exact same length as the 16 that's already been drawn.
Beautiful. So I'm just going to repeat what Savannah said because Savannah said it beautifully. She said, I'm going to take my biggest parallel line, which is the 16. I'm going to move it closer to my question mark, so I'm going to put it down here. But I need to make sure it's exactly the same length as the 16 at the top so that I know how long to make it. This is 16. Do I have any little chunks of line that I can figure out?
Yeah.
Do I have any little chunks that I can drag down and fill out some of that line? Kaylin, what's one of the chunks that I can pull down?
Both of the 4s.
Yeah, so if I look here and here, and then I pull them down to here, I know that this section right here is worth 4. And then I know that the other side, from here to here, is also worth 4. But I have this middle section that's still question mark. The whole thing is 16, and then these 2 smaller chunks are 4 and 4. What's going to be that middle chunk? So I have a 4 chunk on the left side, a 4 chunk on the right side, and then I have a middle chunk. But I need the whole thing to give me 16. What number is going to fit in there to give me a 16? Okay, what is it? Okay, so 5 plus 4 is what? 9 plus another 4, 10, 11, 12, 13. Do I want 13? So it's not 5. Not 5, right? 8. Alright, let's try it. What's 8 plus 4? 12 plus another 4, 16. Does that work?
Yes.
Alright, so our question mark is 8.